I'm excited to be here to talk about the art of a happy exit. I've been around startups for 25 years now, and invariably, what you seem to see in the media is when someone has raised a lot of money, or on the other hand, where they seem to have sold their company for a large sum of money. However, rarely do I find any of us, and this includes me, stopping to ask, is the entrepreneur happy? Was this exit a good thing for them? Was it a good thing for people around them? These were some of the questions. First, of course, even when I ran my own business, I never stopped to ask. But certainly, as I started working with other entrepreneurs, and I found many of them had what they call seller's remorse, that I set out to find out what is it that makes for a happy exit. In most startups, especially those that raise money, the venture capitalists and people around ask you the question, what is your plan for an exit? And of course, at that time, usually entrepreneurs have an answer, and they probably even believe those answers, which is, we will go for an IPO or we will sell this business, what have you. But the reality is they haven't really given it a lot of thought. And this is just not any entrepreneur. This has been the case for me, as well as the 30-odd entrepreneurs I spoke to for this book. So the key thing I found out in doing this research for this book is that the art of a happy exit really lies in three things. One, planning for well ahead for your business, which is what I call the before phase. And then there's the actual process of selling the business, which we call the during phase. And then what happens after the sale, which is the after phase. Most of us, whether it's a job interview or what have you, we do preparation for the job interview. And we may even do mock interviews so that we can do things well. And obviously, what we hope is that we will land the job. Of course, what we think about what will happen in the job may not be what happens in the job after the fact. So similarly, for an entrepreneur who sells to set out his business, once he sells his business, and especially if he or she sells their business for a large sum of money, other people seem to think, oh my God, they have it made, they're successful. Many a times, like one of the entrepreneurs you'll encounter in the book, Barry, finds they are not happy. And worse yet, they can't tell anyone around them that they aren't happy because everyone else feels, hey, what do you have to be unhappy? You've sold your business, you made a ton of money, you have a great job. Why would you be unhappy? But this sort of seller's remorse that people encounter stems from the fact that the entrepreneur is unclear about what is it that they want. So what we've done in this book is really try and understand by talking to 25 entrepreneurs who finally appear in the book out of the 30 I spoke with, is there are two elements to this. One is what I call the inside game. Do you understand what is it that you want? Do you understand what the people around you want? And do you understand what is it that the buyer wants? By the way, each of these people may be unaware of it. They may say, I want this or that or the other, but they may even be unaware of what is it that they want. So we need to really understand the inner game. That's one piece of it. And the other part, which we obviously naturally focus on, is the outer game, which is how do I prepare my company for it to be sold? And during a transaction or during negotiations, how should I behave? And very little thought is given to the outer game post-acquisition, which is how do I ensure that the culture of the two companies will merge? How do I ensure what my role will be or the role of my team will be, etc. So if you look at these two things, which is the sale itself happens in three stages. There's a before sale, during sale, and after sale. And there are two games you're playing at the same time. One is the inner game. What is it that you want? What is it that the people around you want? And what is it the buyer wants? So there is the inner game, and then there's the outer game. So when these two games interface with the three stages of a sale, you need to take care of every one of these 6 steps in order for this to be a happy exit. This is one of the key findings from the work that I've done. And I hope, see again, what I've just told you now seems interesting, or maybe seems overwhelming as well. But the reality is a whole lot easier when you read it as the stories of people who have done it. So what is exciting for me in this book is really, there are people who sold their business in a totally unplanned way. One gentleman sold it in less than a week. And after the sale was not good monetarily, and he still had debt to pay. Yet, as in his own words, he was the happiest person in the whole world. So you can make unplanned sales. Those sales may not necessarily be monetarily successful or deemed successful, yet you can be very happy. On the other hand, another gentleman planned for 5 years, sold his business for $45 million, all cash, and was miserable the next 1 year, in his own words. So you could plan, you could have a good financial outcome, yet you need not be happy. And obviously, the reality lies, and if you read a variety of these folks, it'll range from someone who's run their business for 4 years to someone who's run their business for 18 years and then sold their business. And yet, all these entrepreneurs over time. So I did not speak to anyone who had sold their business less than 4 years ago. So this allowed them to be able to reflect on what is it that happened in their transaction, what is it that they felt, what went wrong, what did not, what would they do better going forward. So it is my hope these exciting things, the stories of these entrepreneurs, is what will be exciting for you. Another key insight that I found in this book is there are entrepreneurs in this book from India, from Bombay, from Bangalore, from Chennai, and there are entrepreneurs here from Silicon Valley, as well as entrepreneurs here from across the US Midwest. There are about 75% of the entrepreneurs in the book are men, and 25% or close to 30% are women. Yet across these entrepreneurial ecosystems, across genders, across the amount of experience they had, did they have an MBA? Did they bootstrap a business? Did they raise money and then grow their business? Regardless of these circumstances, their journeys were quite similar. And that really consists of, so the way to a happy exit across all these ecosystems we saw, as well as across these entrepreneurs, is first and foremost, do you understand what is it that you want? This is the essence of having a happy exit, understanding what is it that you want. So whenever we ask, what is it that you want? People are able to talk about money. Even that many entrepreneurs and many successful entrepreneurs who have run their business for many years are not able to clearly say how much money do they want or what is it that they plan to do after they sold their business. So this question of what is your purpose is a very critical question to answer as well. So the first question, how much money do you want, is simple for some people and not so simple for others. But this is a question most entrepreneurs think about, at least at the time of sale. But what most entrepreneurs don't think about well ahead of time is, what is it that I want? If I sell my business tomorrow, what is it that I will be doing? In other words, why do I show up for work now? What is the purpose, or what do I think is the purpose of my life? So this is one key question that they need to answer if they want to have a happy exit. Of course, the other question they need to answer is, what do my partners want? What do my employees want? And what you will find out is each of them wants very different things. And many of them will not be comfortable talking about it. Many of them will wonder, what is going to happen? Are you going to sell the company? Are they going to be left alone to fend for themselves? And these are things that even they would not know beforehand unless you have this conversation. And of course, in order to have this conversation, this needs to be a safe environment. People need to feel comfortable, both sharing with you and thinking about it. And of course, in the case of a family business, there's a whole family dynamic that comes into play. And the third part is selling your business in many ways is selling the product or the service that you do. Only thing now, the product is your entire company. And it's very, very hard. Obviously, when it's your own product, you invest a lot emotionally. When it's your company, you're invested even more greatly. In that sense, to be able to sort of distance yourself and look at it from the buyer's perspective. In fact, this is one of the key reasons this book is useful for even people who are not considering selling their business. Because again, those of us who've been entrepreneurs, it's very easy to get caught up with what you're doing, chasing that deal, trying to close this other transaction, trying to hire that key person, and the joy of making something happen. So it's very hard to stop and take stock as someone from outside. So for example, when you try to sell your business and the potential buyer says, look, you have customer concentration, you wonder what they're talking about. It's not just that 50% or 20% or 30% of your revenue is coming from a single customer. And of course, you as an entrepreneur believe this customer will never leave me. There's so much value I bring, they're never going to leave me. But a potential buyer sees this as a huge risk, because if that person leaves. So in that sense, the ability to step outside yourself, to step outside your perspective and look at it from the perspective of a prospective buyer is very, very important. And it's not easily done. I know it wasn't easy for me. And I know every entrepreneur I spoke to finds it very hard because both emotionally and otherwise, you're vested in your business. So the ability to, again, ask yourself and answer, what is it that I want? What is it people around me want? And what is it that a potential buyer wants? That's one part of it. Again, these things, when you read in the book, and the book has checklists after alternate chapters where you can ask and answer these questions for yourselves. And these answers will change over time. Obviously, as you grow, as your business grows, these answers will change. But at least you'll get comfortable asking these questions and becoming aware what questions you don't have answers to. The second part is intellectually, this is very easy to understand. But the reality is you're running a business. And especially if you're a growing business, you don't have much time. You're running around hither and thither, what have you. So it's very important. This is, again, one of the key discoveries people found is one of the entrepreneurs, for example, he had raised $5 million. His competitors has made 20, 30, $50 million. So obviously he was in a race in a highly, rapidly growing marketplace. So on one hand, he's growing the business, chasing customers, getting the product delivered. On the other hand, he needs to make sure that he gets the company to the right place so the competition doesn't kill him. So what he found is because he was still very much engaged in the everyday, day-to-day business, it was very hard for him to focus on how do I strategically position the company, and especially when there was a suitable buyer, how do I handle the transaction in a manner that had an arm's distance? Because selling your company is a full-time job. So you can't have a daytime job where you're already as the CEO or the managing director running around all the time. Plus, you're trying to sell the company at the same time. So one of the things about the reason you should think, not necessarily sell your company, but think about selling your company, is it's the best thing you can do for yourself because you will learn how to delegate. You will learn how to let your business run when you're not around. Can you be gone for 3 weeks and will your business still be standing? Can other people make decisions, or no PO gets signed if you're not around, or no customer meeting gets taken, or no deal gets closed if you're not around? Then your business is going to be in trouble, regardless of whether you want to sell it or not. And the third piece, as I touched upon earlier, is in trying to sell your business, you will look at your business from outside rather than from inside, which means it helps you identify what are the weaknesses in your business. How could your business do even better? So if someone is buying your business, why are they buying it? Obviously, they are getting some value out of it. Are you doing what's needed to get that value out of the business, even if you plan to run it? So these 3 reasons, which is your business gets better. And to me, that's the first reason for you to look at, should I sell my business? And if so, how should I go about it? Second, can I make other people happy? Again, in my own experience, when I sold my first business, most of the business was owned by the employees. So it was a time for great joy. Yet, many of my employees had not thought about the tax implications when they sell their shares. So there was great joy the first minute, wow, we're going to make money. Then the next minute, they're like, what do you mean we have to pay taxes, right? And then a little while later, they said, okay, that's great. Yes, we got to pay taxes. It's the reality of life. But what am I going to be doing in my new job? And then a little while later, they asked the question, wait a second, am I going to get more options or restricted stocks or what have you? What is the upside for me in staying on? So if you look at it, every person, people tend to do this sequentially, but they've not thought it. So if I, as an entrepreneur, had done a better job educating my team, saying, look, there are consequences when you sell. You want to think about these things, etc. It would not have changed the results, but people would have been happier because they would have been better prepared. So it is not just purely selflessness that you want to make sure that people around you want to be happy. Because the first 90 days after I sold my business, there was someone who's going through these emotions, 4 emotions within 30 seconds, and someone else is going through it over 1 week or 2 months. And you're spending all your time answering the same questions over and over again with a variety of people. And obviously, these are people you've worked with and you want them to be happy. And first and foremost, of course, right, much like the Gita says or anything else, know thyself. The surest way to have a happy exit is to understand yourself. What is it that I want? What is it constitute success for me? What is my purpose in life? And what will I do after I sell my business? These, again, as I touched upon earlier, if nothing else, the story of these 20 entrepreneurs is a scintillating journey. That is the reason you should get this book. And of course, the bonus on top of that is if you're running a business, if you plan to run a business, if you've sold a business, if you're planning to sell a business, then you can learn from the lessons of these other entrepreneurs. I hope you will get the book, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.